Thank you for being here. This is the Zoliart podcast. I'm Linda, consultant for Zoliart, and I'm here with Zoli Althea Browne. We're here to discuss the supernatural, the spiritual, the unseen, and the strange. So if you're interested in questions about the nature of this reality, you're in the right place. I thought we'd start off today by talking about how to have hope in challenging times. What do you think about that, Zoli?
Well, there's a subject. That's funny you brought it up because I was thinking just this morning. It's something my mother used to say. She'd say, if you're mad, get glad. If you're sad, get happy. We have to try. And I think we've been under the influence for so long of so much negativity that I think we're in a golden age. But a lot of that has to do with our will, that we shoot our will into it and we say, I can try. If I'm upset, I am in a group of people, I'm in humanity. Everybody's got the same emotions. And the more that I remember to connect myself with that, the more positive I am. We are heading into a brilliant future. Don't let anybody tell any of you guys it's all gloom and doom. It's not. I like to think, well, it's like a cesspool, if you excuse the expression. All the nuggets have to rise to the top to be scooped off. And that's what we're doing. Is it anybody's fault? I just think this is how life is. We go through these huge cycles. And we're at the end of an enormous era, the Piscean age, when it was the me time. 1625, those energies started going out. 1675, the energies, the Aquarian age started coming in. And we've been doing that ever since. It didn't just happen in the year 2000. And we went from me to we. So the more we can work together and remember that we are part of a great community, I think the more positive we can be. Remind me of that next time I get in a bad mood.
I'll do that.
Maybe 20 minutes.
So how do we find the we? How do we feel more connected with each other instead of getting down on what's not going right?
It's so personal, isn't it? It's so personal. I think it has to do with our family and our immediate people. Somebody made up something, said we are a conglomeration of the five closest people in our life. I don't know who made that up, and I don't know why it's five. But I think if we look at our first circle, like in PSD work, your first circle are the people that are right around you, protecting you, and that is the world of spirit, is the unseen. My husband calls this invisible medicine. He can't see it. I can see some of it, but I may be a big fat liar. I don't know. We like to research it. But whoever is around you, they're going to affect us a lot, and we're going to affect them. But we have to be that light. This world is a deep, dark, evil place, and we came here to change that and learn it. Is it wonderful? Yeah, it's wonderful too. But physical matter needs to be transmuted. What does that mean? That makes no sense. Physical matter has to be spiritualized. That's an even worse word. What does that mean? We add the piece of us that's the God piece to that. We add light, we add positivity and happiness. If you're in a room of people, all of a sudden somebody walks in and people feel lighter, they feel better. That's sometimes all it takes because it's very, very contagious. Does misery love company? Yeah, but so does joy. It all loves company because we really can't, we separate ourselves because we get self-oriented, but it's really not a truth. Maybe that's how we grow and we change. That's part of it. But we have to cycle out of that. We can be the hermit. We can learn and we can grow. But the purpose even of the Desert Fathers in Catholicism, we talk about in the year 500, 600, these great saints went into the deserts because the cities got so crowded and they were so crazy. And just like today. So people followed them out there. They didn't get much peace and quiet. Then there were communities started in the cities. But the purpose of being alone and being in a hermitage is so that we can learn to know who we are and learn to love people more. How do you do it? We do it by doing it. It really is the effort. And you and I addressed this, I think, yesterday in our weekly chat, that we do it by doing. It's really, they say it's the journey. That doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know what that means. I'm not in a covered wagon. But my journey is the daily emotions that I have to go through. And I think the emotions are part of it. We have to try. We have to try. It's like spirit. If I say to spirit, oh, this is really difficult, I'm having a hard time, they're like, sorry, try harder. Try harder. We have to try. And that's that effort. That's that free will. That's what so many entities don't have is we have this free will. It is a seed. It is a gift from the creator, from this divine peace that says you are part of me and I'm part of you. I like to say from him through me to them. And the them is everybody else. There are over 8 billion people on the planet. It can't be for everybody, but there is that little thread that runs through all of us. And we know it. We can't get away from it.
That's so true. We're connected whether we want to be or not, right?
Yeah, sometimes I don't want to be because I can be in an absolutely awful humor, as my husband can be in a mood, as they say, but so can he. It's just part of human nature. We're trying to deal with ourselves. We get angry at other people because we're really angry at ourselves because we're not handling it the way that we want to. It's the old, that old story about you're in a restaurant, somebody comes in and spits on the table. Well, 12 people around the table will all react differently, maybe. It's whatever it is personal to us. But we have to resolve that within ourselves to get along with other people.
Easier said than done.
For me, it is. For
Right.
me, I joke and I say I'm like a 14-year-old drag queen. My mother, dramatic. My mother's family, they were in New York and they ran the Schubert Theater. That's where Sarah Bernhardt, the old actress, performed. And when I was growing up, they called me Sarah Heartburn because I was such a drama queen. It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, I am theatrical and I am an artist. That's my expression of that. But for me, the challenge is to corral that and learn to be a little more emotional and be able to take that expression from him through me, through art, music, and writing, and to give it to humanity, the people that want it, God forbid, and then detach from that. Go on to the next thing. It's a lot easier said than done. But the purpose of these podcasts and the purpose of any of Zoliart work is to say that we are one human family. And what does that mean? That we really can't get away from that. We have the same emotions. We all pretty much have the same body parts. We're boys, we're girls, we're whatever we are. But that is the human family. And then we have to express our personality, which changes in every life. Your soul does not. It's a master on its own plane. But every life you come in with this fresh new piece that you can express. And I've probably been a drama queen in all my lives. I don't know. Just ask my. Try living with a JSOC operator who is also special forces, who's calm and who's logical and who I bounce off of. It becomes very obvious to me who and what I am.
That's a case of opposites attract.
It is. And you know why? Because we feed each other those energies. We feed each other. And it's a balancing. And you don't compete in those areas. I know folks and they're both attorneys or they both do the same thing. They may have a great relationship. They connect more in a different way and they may compete. Tom and I don't compete in that way. We're very allowing. We let each other go our own way because we really don't have a clue what the other one does or how they do it. It's constantly a learning process for me. He tolerates me, which is lovely.
I think that could be used as analogy for how we interact with the unseen and some of these things that make us feel like we're crazy. Instead of fighting them or trying to compete with them, if we allow them, life becomes more peaceful.
Ah, that's very well put. It's an individual thing. You and I have discussed, and I discuss with so many people that we each have these gifts. We have graces, and the gifts are what we come into this earth to express with. You've heard it said that the gifts are what God gives you, and what we do with them are what we give back. There's that cycle from Him through me to them. It's always a cycle, and it always comes back around. But what we do in between is express that gift. I don't think there's any way around it. I've tried. Believe me, it doesn't work.
So how did you start expressing your art and sharing it?
It's an interesting story. When I was in my 20s, I was married. I barely 19, just got married. It was a karmic relationship to a man named Mark, who was absolutely wonderful. Mark was adorable. He was part Cherokee. But the purpose of that marriage was a karmic relationship. We lived in Lubbock, Texas, but the purpose was to get Mark back to Birmingham, Alabama, where I was raised, to be in business with my father. They had a father son type relationship. Absolutely wonderful. So I went through a darkening of my soul period. I was 21 years old, and it's the first time I just joined the Rosicrucian order. And so I was doing a lot of inner work, and I just contacted the feeling of what the other side was. And I thought I was that, crazy. I thought I was a nut. So I started seeing a counselor, and he said, let's let you talk to somebody else. So I went to the University of Alabama in Birmingham and talked to this wonderful psychiatrist, Pat Linton. He was wonderful. And he said, maybe we should let you go for a week or so into the clinic. So I went into the clinic, and they fed me Valium for 2 weeks, and I was high as a kite. Back then, back in the 70s, they wanted to calm women down. We must calm you down so we could work with you, right? So while I was in the clinic being diagnosed as just kind of a normal artistic weirdo back in Birmingham, Alabama, if you can imagine, not a lot of consciousness back then. But this nurse came by and took pity on me. She said, here's some paper and here's some pens. Why don't you draw something? Aha, God has his ways. So that's when all this started. I started drawing all these things. Then they sent me to talk to this gentleman there named Dr. John Smithies. I took some of my art and showed him. John Smithies was British, and he handed me this book on psychic phenomena. He said, I need this back, but I want you to look at it. Bingo. There started that. So you never know how God works. But I had to go a little wacko in order to access those energies. Today, it wouldn't be considered that. Today, it was like, oh, yeah, you probably smoke too much weed or something, which I can't do because it makes me fat and stupid and paranoid. God help you, can. God help you. So Dr. Smithy said, look, he says, you're what's called a psychic medium. I said, what? That's what you are. You're going to have to find your own way. I suggest you learn and you find a way to express this. Aha, the art. I started doing the art. I had been doing music since I was 9. I was public with it, et cetera, et cetera. I wasn't doing much writing, except these horribly emotional songs. I mean, they were terrible. They were just ridiculous. They were childish, but I was a child, So that's how that all started. So it was a blessing. So I got out of the clinic, so to speak, quit taking the Valium because it made me dumb and numb. And I started doing the art, and I started doing the writing and the music. And Spirit said to me, a spirit will talk to you. You may think you're nuts, but you're not. Well, you may be nuts. I don't know. But Spirit said, your art, music, and writing are like triplets. They must always go together. You will find over the years that as you express yourself, they will grow up. So my art, music, and writing did grow up. Over the years, I'm almost 71 now. I was 21 then. That was a long time ago. They grew up. They went through grade school. I sent them to college. They each got a PhD attached to them, literally. And now they are out into the world. And I've just kind of let them go, let them do their thing. So everyone's story is going to be a little different, but people will have different ways of expressing this. And I hate to use the word psychic, this invisible energy that makes sense to them and maybe nobody else. Some of it, do we make it up? Sometimes we do. But you will be able to tell the difference with discernment as you use those abilities, what it is, where it's coming from, and how it is. Is there demonic interference? There can be. Is there angelic? No. The angels cannot reach you. They are high up above. The seraphim, they circle the throne of God. When you see something that you think is an angel, it's probably a master. Does it have wings? Devas have wings, but these so-called angels are not there. You are surrounded, though, with beings and people who love you. That love is more than anything that we can express while we are doing time on planet Earth, so to speak. But it's where we're going. It's where we're going. And they remind us of that. So your creativity, your expression, the gift that you developed with your dreams. That's your way of doing things. I can't do that. My husband can go into his dreams. He learned it from some Buddhist monk in Thailand. He was um, first group special forces. They learned Thai. They were in Thailand. He learned to be able to go into his dreams and change them if he didn't like them. Me, I'm just a penultimate victim. I'm like, oh, great, I'm here again. But that's just how I am. It's just part of my charm. Yes, I don't know. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And I love how you describe how all our gifts are different. So what I wonder is how can individuals fine tune their non-physical senses so that they can discern what's meant for them?
I don't know. Figure it out. The whole
Different for
point is
everyone.
the whole point of Zoliart is, look, this is my world and this is my creativity. Find yours. Find your past. Ask these beings around you, say, what is my next step? What can I do? You will be led to certain books. You will be led to people. You will be led to unusual things. And it may take a while, but when it takes a while, I have to be reminded that so-called God will say to me, not so-called God, but God will so-called say to me, I'm getting this done for you. Would you wait, please? I'm laying down the road. I've got to build a road. Get off of it. Go do something else. Find something else to do. So life is what happens when we're finding something else to do while our, shall I say, fate unfolds. And your astrology chart, your numerology chart, all of these readings, this and that, that is what happens if you don't choose. So all I can ask is please choose. Please find a way, your spiritual path. You've got to have a spiritual path to believe there's something greater than you. If you don't, you can be abducted because you have no protection around you. You have no marker protecting on your forehead. You're not there. And does that happen? It can happen. It can have. We won't get into all the UFO stuff. That's Ray Hernandez's work. When we talk to him, he'll talk about that. I just sit at the feet of the masters with that one. My area basically is the Zoliart, and I'll tell you my experiences, but I have no idea how to tell somebody to do that. When I was talking to Dr. Smithies and the psychiatrist, and I guess I was talking to the Valium at that time at age 21, I didn't even have a fully frontal brain, but everything was talking and communicating to me saying, we'll put these things in front of you. Just walk the path. So find a path and walk it and try not to change too much because that path, if you don't change it and if you're not impatient, that path will lead you to certain signs and certain goals. That's just my opinion.
That makes sense. So be open to it and be aware of what those signposts are, like little coincidences and things that show you're on the right track, right?
I don't know what else we can do. There are people that are, and I'm not a guru, I'm not a teacher, I'm a researcher and an analyst. Believe me, I'm not those. But there are people who say they are, who think they are. Some are and some aren't. I don't know. I have no idea. But if you follow somebody, I think it's good to follow their teaching, but not them. You don't need a cult. You don't need a cult leader. Maybe you do. I don't know. You can learn from everything. But I think if we're looking at the long term, to not lose yourself, to find who you are. And it's a lifetime. My mom used to say to me, I'd say, I don't know who I am. She'd say, well, figure it out. Just be yourself. Well, I don't know who that is. Well, you have to figure it out. That's what the journey is. And it's a mystery to me why we come here in these bodies every incarnation and we start over and we have to figure it out again because we're new people. We're different people.
I think that's what the reality pirate, who you talk about in your books a lot, I think that helps people find who they are because of the nature of the reality pirate.
Oh, I love RP. He's that part of me that's the renegade that says, I'm not going to do that. Just watch this. I can take off and this and that. Um, I think I know he's a part of me because it's very easy to write about him or for him. And when we are doing this area, we are pirating through different realities. We're pirating through densities. Densities are personal. You can be a room with 10 people, you're in your own density, but realities and dimensions are universal. So are we in the fifth dimension? No. You're clearly in the third dimension. You and I've discussed this. The fourth dimension is movement. The fifth dimension, I think it's a state of mind. I think you come and go out of it, but I don't know. There are people that tell you that they're in it. I don't believe them. I think they're smoking too much weed. I have no idea what they're doing. But it's not my area. So I don't know.
And that's what the Reality Pirate Guide and the Reality Pirate Chronicles do that you wrote. They ask these questions and they invite readers to be curious about these questions, but they don't impose um, absolute answers for anything.
I don't think there are any. I'm not God. I'm not the Holy Mother. I'm not the Holy Spirit. I'm not that at all. And I don't think anybody thinks I'm that. But just because I'm writing something and I think to know about it, you got to remember that's just from my perspective. That's why there are a lot of question marks in all the reality pirate work. When we did the Chronicles, that second Chronicles, I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's like a magazine. You can just open it to a certain page and read a couple things in it. It is that is my nature of reality, and it is the way that I want to share my experience, because my experience isn't much different than yours or anybody else's. And when people tell aliens, they're not. When they tell you they're seraphim angels and they're this and they're that, they're not. They just don't know who they are yet. And they may connect with that, but that's not who you are. You're a person. And I think we don't recognize the greatness in humanity. We've got minds like Elon Musk. My God, look what that man has done. Is he an alien? He's a person. He's got a birth certificate. And that is demonstrating what the mind can do, what people can do. So you don't have to pretend that you're from somewhere else and you're from planet Zumba with all these abilities, because people know you're not. When you leave the room, they're going to roll their eyes, or else they'll try to follow you. Then you're really going to have problems because you can't prove it.
Right. Everybody wants to be special, but they don't see the specialness that's already right there inside them.
That's very well put. Because if you want to be special, just be yourself.
Yeah.
And it takes a lifetime to figure that out. It really, really does. And I think the more that we are ourselves, which means get grounded in your body in some way. You've talked to me about meditation. I don't meditate. Like, I'll do walking meditations. I don't just sit. And I think partially is because I'm autistic and I have ADD as a gift and a curse. I don't just sit there. I'm always doing something, which is why I crank out all this stuff. That come from? I don't know. It's because I have to be active and busy. It's a gift and a curse. But everybody's got that somewhere. The more you talk to people, the more special and different you're going to see how they are. Because once they really get into who they are, you're going to see those pieces of divinity, and it's all there.
It's beautiful when people are open to being their authentic selves. And I think that's what Zoliart inspires, because you need a little bit of a playfulness with it as well. And connecting the artistic with some of these deeper questions helps lighten them up a little bit.
I would hope so, because I think the playfulness is very important. You know, the beings on the other side are really playful. They're not dealing with the, no pun, the gravity of Earth. You know, in kids, when you're excited about something, you jump up. Well, you're trying to get away from gravity. That's what you're doing. You jump up. You're on a trampoline. You're up, or your arms go up, or we raise our eyebrows. We're lifting ourselves to a higher power, which is always the divine mother, the divine father, the divine masculine, the divine feminine, whatever all that means. I have yet to figure that out. But I think what it is just being yourself.
That's beautiful. And it seems simple, yet a lot of times in the media and in our just our day-to-day lives, it can be harder because we get frustrated with what we're seeing, or we get told we should be fit into what other people think we should be. It's always fitting in, right? And I think we need less fitting in.
Well, we do need less fitting in, but we also have to render to Caesar what is Caesar's. We do have
Right.
to in this world. My joke about that's very true, what you said. And that's how we figure it all out. But when I was younger, my parents knew nothing about all this work that I do and this and that. I was a psychic medium kid. I saw all this crazy stuff. They ignored it, much to my frustration, because I wanted to be special. They taught me that I had to live in this physical world. Thank God somebody did. So I thought they were mean, that they thought that I was this or I was that. But what they thought I was somebody that needed to learn how to live in the world. We do have to learn to live in the world. But once we do that and we couple that piece of living in the world with who we are, that creates divinity. That's the most beautiful thing there is. And I think we do have to fit in certain ways. There's a guy in Missoula, he walks around in a toga. Well, it's not a toga, what is it? It's a black cape, and he has this magical hat and a stick. I think he's awesome. What world is he in? I have no idea. But you're not going to get a job working in a conservative place doing that. So it's like the Italian phrase, paese che va usanza che trova. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. That we have to find a way to fit in. I've never fit in anywhere. I really haven't, just because I want to be me, but I'm also a renegade. I don't want to be a part of the big picture, and it's hurt me a lot too. So as I've gotten older, and marrying my husband has made me understand more about the groundedness and needing. So over the past 13 years, I've adulted more. That's the capital A. I'm learning, I'm getting there. He says I'm doing well. And we'll get him on here sometime to keep him from growling. I tell him not to growl at people.
Once we get into the law enforcement and the paranormal, we'll need to get his.
Oh, right. He's seen plenty. He was a JSOC operator, a veteran of 3 wars, all kind of medals, this and that. All I can say is JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command. Can't tell you who he was or what he did. I don't care. I don't ask him any questions because I don't want to have to be killed. But he's seen a lot, and his perspective has offered me a different perspective on things to be. But that's how God does. He puts you together with people. I offer him a different perspective too.
That's beautiful.
Usually, our marriage counselor says you will disagree. It's family systems therapy. I love this. David Schnarch's work. He says that you will disagree, and this is in Missoula. David is wonderful. He says that you will disagree 70% of the time if you're married. That's 7-0. You will.
That sounds about right.
You tolerate. Well, of course you're married. You tolerate and you learn to get along by being more loving. How do you do that? Sometimes I'm so irritated, I can't be more loving. I have to go outside and run around the block or something. So there are ways of maneuvering this life and managing life, but it is all about love. It's about the expression of compassion and divinity. And that is what I'd like to think Zoliart is. Whatever you're doing, if you're doing that with love in your heart, if you can find that and express it out there to share, because sharing is what's going to save the world. We share what we have in excess. You don't have to give up your house. You have to give up your this or your that. Well, if you have excess, then share that. And that is the first form of healing for this world. Goodwill is the lowest form of love. Everybody can feel goodwill. And so this is this brilliant golden age we're going into. You see more sharing. You see what ANI is doing. It's changing the world. Don't be afraid of it. Good and evil, though, are poured into the same cup and we drink it unawares. And so it's not going to be an abstract ideal of, oh, it's all perfect, oh, it's all bad. No, it's somewhere in between, just like we are, because we are this world.
That's so true. So how do we get to goodwill? How do we get to love from a place of fear, especially around the unseen and some of the supernatural things? People have a lot of fear, and it's hard to go from fear to love. What would be the first step?
That's a very scientific thing to do, and I'll tell you how that works. depend on the five physical senses. They are tools to live in this world. I can see this room. I depend on that. Everything's talking to you all the time. May not talk English, it's always communicating. I can hear things. There are people that cannot see or hear, so they depend more on the other senses. But these five physical senses is our toolbox. It's our kit to live in the physical world. But that's only half of it. How do you access the magical, unphysical world? You do it through your inner senses. And that is what people are starting to learn more about. You can't get FM on an AM channel. You can't access these other worlds trying to hear them or see them with the physical senses. And if I have a main message, that's it. That's the way that I can say, learn that. It is a process. You know very well that sometimes I see some of these entities, they scare the holy crap out of me. Like, oh, what are you doing? Don't do that. No, never mind. Wait, do that. I'll get used to it. I used to be, you get used to this. It's a scientific thing that we get attenuated to it and we get jaded to it. For example, when I first started seeing shapes and things, I'd see spirit, and it's not pareidolia. You'll see spirit appear in, say, a mud puddle. Oh my God, there's a face there. And it's moving and changing. It used to scare the bejesus out of me. That was 50 years ago. Now I'm like, who are you? What do you have to say? But when I walk down the stairs of the studio and somebody's walking behind me and I go, okay, I am so out of here. Because you feel that inner sense, you feel the presence of something's not physical. How does that happen? Let's just say very loosely that their invisibility starts to collect molecules, atoms, molecules, whatever in physics you call that. And as it becomes more physical, you sense it. You sense that. How is it that spirit so often appears? For example, I was outside the other day and I was shoveling some grass out of the yard that I had raked up, and I looked, and out of the corner of my eye, we have one of these big old gas cans that we use for all our equipment on the ranch. And I said, "Oh my God, don't do that!" Somebody had taken shape in that gas can. It's 4 feet tall. Yeah. Oh, is right. I'm like, oh my God. So big psychic researcher. Yeah, sorry. Was that scary for you? Yeah, it was. Why? Because I'm a person and I'm dealing with the physical senses. There are 40 turkeys out there, wild turkeys, and they're rooting around, and I was pushing them out of the way. I wasn't paying attention. I was enjoying the day. Then bam. But how do they do that? They use the physicality that's already there to manifest. You see what I'm saying? So you'll see this out of the corner of your eye, your peripheral vision, because that's where, what is it? Somebody's going to correct me. The rods and cones are thinner. I don't know what that is, but we see a lot there. We see a lot there. I don't know how else to explain it because that's as far as I've gotten. But I've told them I'm no longer saying, don't do that. I'm saying, do that. I'll get used to it. I hope. News at 10. I'll let you know.
I'll get you.
How it goes. But I just have to get used to it, Linda. It's like going into a class for the first time. It's going to be weird. The teacher's weird. The language is weird. Never seen the book before, and I certainly never seen these people before. But after a month in there, it's all hat.
Right. So as we get used to these different senses, it doesn't become as scary. It's just another part of life.
It's all in our mind. It's in our mind. And how do you tell the difference? I get asked this one a lot. How do you know you're not making this up, Zoli? Aha, I know the answer to that. Believe it or not. When I see these beings or when something's communicating with me, I can't make up what they're saying or what they physically do, physically or non-physically. I can't make that up. But if I say, okay, I'm going to think about a dragon, I can see the dragon, then I have to use my thought process and imagine what that dragon would be doing. But the unseen world is around you all the time. It's alive. It's got viscosity. It is brilliant, and it's always communicating. And you can say, don't do that, or I want more of this, or teach me gently how to communicate with you. I said that one time and I felt this little hand on my hand go like this, like, okay. And of course I thought, what the hell is that? But see, the reason why we don't want to believe it is that we're supposed to pay attention to the physical world. You're supposed to do that. There's nothing wrong with you that you go, I can't believe that happened. No, do that. Do that first because it is your SA, your situational awareness. Action is faster than reaction. I'm getting into firing stuff here, but your action is faster than reaction. And so you will learn to be able to not react and to act almost before it happens because you'll sense it. I promise you, there's a whole pattern to this.
That's really cool. It's just about practicing and taking the time to
I think it
understand.
is. I've had the grace and the dignity of being able to have a lot of time alone, much to the joy of many people around me. Because I'm a researcher and because my husband would live for the past 13 years. He trains the SWAT team in Western Washington, and he'd be gone for 7 to 10 days a month, and I'd have the time for me to do that. I don't need that anymore. Something has happened after 13 years of this to where I can be alone with people in the room. Now, I don't know why that is. Maybe I just got sick of myself. I have no idea. Will it come around? I don't know. I don't know. I say that the most things I say is, I don't know. Why'd you ask me? I have no idea. If you follow me around on a daily basis, who am I? I'm a Montana housewife. That's what I do. That is what my joy is. And I think that chopping wood and carrying water, that right there, Linda, is what has allowed me to do what I do. Because I'm just being me. I'm here in Montana in this crazy house up in the wilderness, and I'm just doing normal things during the day with abnormal things that I'm perceiving.
I love that. It reminds me of, I'm not sure if it's Buddha or so, but
Oh yeah, Buddha.
it's the idea of before enlightenment, you chop wood, you carry water, you cook food, and after enlightenment, you chop wood, carry water, and make
The
food,
difference
right?
is it's heavier.
Yeah, it's not true.
Well, it has to do with the dignity, I think, and I've heard that and I love that. And I think there's great truth in it, is the dignity of just living simple physical life. Do I do that all the time? No. But when I do, when I have my patterns during the day that I do, and with autism, we like patterns. I have my schedules, I have lists on my list, I have my things that I do that keep me in an ordered mind. And that's important to me. I go out and I'll put water out for the turkeys in the summer. When I get up in the morning, I'll do this, or this. So it's the patterns that allow me to be connected to the physical world. And I think that's important for anybody. Now, people joke that are retired. My husband retired out of the military right after 9/11. He says, when you retire, you better have another job because you're going to be busier than you ever were.
Hmm.
If the mind starts going.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're busy in the physical, then your mind doesn't have time to get get busy in the wrong way.
I think that's true. I think it can go on the back burner, but I would add to that to be physical and service to others, to find something that you're doing in the world. Does our grandson, he wants to come to visit, does he need this, or this, or this? Even if I don't want to do it, I knew I'm doing it for a higher power. I get myself out of the way, you see. And being an Aries sun sign, we're the most selfish things there is. We're the first ones out of the gate. We do stuff and get bored and we leave. Like, I'm done. And that's good and bad. So my patterning has been to learn to be more my North Node, which is Capricorn, to learn to be responsible, to respond. I'm a work in progress.
Aren't we all?
Some more than others.
That's true. That's true. And I think just being open to things that we're not familiar with and new possibilities and the unknown being real, even though we can't see it, helps.
It's a very, very rich weave, the unknown and the unseen world. And when we bring that into the physical world, that's divinity, that's spiritualizing matter. And that's what we all came here to do.
Oh, that's beautiful. I want to leave it on that because it's such an important point for people.
That came from Theosophy. I didn't make that up.
Well, a lot of the work you share is theosophy based.
It is. They're a lot smarter than me. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to next time.
Absolutely.
All
Go
right.
in peace.
Bye bye.